Its Denver Broncos are the first team to have clinched an NFL playoff spot in the 90s. The infusion of young talent like standout rookie Bobby Humphrey, combined with the exceptional performance of reliable veterans, has brought winning success and a steady improvement to Denver. For the Los Angeles Raiders, this season has been anything but steady. Mike Shanahan, the Raiders head coach when the season began, but owner Al Davis, unhappy with the team's direction, fired him. Shanahan has returned to Denver, helping with the offense. Today, he's back in L.A., where a Denver victory would deal a severe, perhaps deadly blow to any Raider playoff hopes.
Today, it's the Denver Broncos versus the Los Angeles Raiders.
The City of Angels, bathing in sun and 80 degrees, a 100-degree swing from the frozen East and Midwest. A crowd that'll be the largest of the year in the NFL. Once expected to be around 70, now maybe 85,000 Coliseum fans to see the Raiders and the Broncos in a game that the L.A. Raiders have called their playoff game. Hello, everyone. It is a playoff environment here. Dick Hendrick with Bill Walsh. You know the feeling. We're in December. Art Shell, they're excited about him as the head man here.
Well, he's brought back tradition, philosophy, and approach, even the symbols of playing the game. They're 4-0 here in the Coliseum, and they've got momentum.
Art Shell is unbeaten at home here thus far. Now for Dan Reeves, his team clinches the AFC West 10-2. Last week, everyone feels they might be in for a letdown.
Well, I don't believe so. Dan Reeves is an excellent coach. They've got a great team. But once you've won that division and you have that momentum going for you, you're not about to let down. You carry yourself like a champion. They'll play well.
Mike Shanahan, when these two teams played in Denver, was on the sidelines coaching the Raiders. Today he's up in the press box, the quarterback coach for the Broncos, and his impact on John Elway in the passing game has been somewhat dramatic. It's certainly improved. And there's Dan Reeves, the 45-year-old head man for Denver, and the line is forming in that file that would say Coach of the Year for Dan Reeves. Changed his defensive coordinator and staff. Released some popular veterans, Mike Harden, Rulon Jones, and others. Has made some dramatic changes, and here he is 10-2. The first team already assured the playoffs. This huge crowd sees Denver kick it off. Treadwell down to the 5-yard line. Vance Mueller brings it out to the 29-yard line, and that's where the Raiders put it in play. And the quarterback today, Steve Berline, remember he's playing with a injured knee that will hamper his mobility behind the big young line of Graves, Giesick, Mospar, the rookie Wisniewski, and a good one, and Wilkerson. The backfield, the incomparable Bo Jackson and Steve Smith, the blocker, the speed in Willie Gault, the clever running after the catch of Mervyn Fernandez. Mike Dial, the tight end, he goes out when they go to the extra wide receiver, and Mike Alexander comes in. Had his first touchdown pass last week against New England. Berline from just inside the 30 gives to Bo, and he's knocked down after a yard gain by Simon Fletcher, who is having a Pro Bowl year for the Broncos. Here is Wade Phillips' defensive unit, Alfonso Carricker, Cragen, and Holmes, the front three, with Brooks, Munford, Mecklenburg, and Fletcher, the linebackers. When they get into a pass defense situation, these men come in. Scott Curtis, Kip Corrington, and Mark Haynes, two extra defensive backs to join the back four of Braxton, Henderson. Robbins starts today for Dennis Smith, who is injured, and Steve Atwater, the brilliant rookie from Arkansas. There's the defensive coordinator, Wade Phillips. Second down and 9. Berline buying time, throws incomplete. Through the hands of the tight end, Mike Dial. He was wide open.
Wide open. I'm sure they have prepared for that play all week. Calling it early in the game, they had him wide open. Berline was over his head by 2 or 3 feet, and that's going to be a problem. Berline's going to have to be accurate. They're going to get people open, but he's going to have to hit them, because when Denver gets the ball, they're going to begin to control it. He has to make first downs and get field position right away.
Art Shell, who celebrated his 42nd birthday last Sunday. He's the youngest head coach in the league, although 5 years older than Shanahan when he was the head man here at the start of the season. Shotgun Berline. And under pressure, he has to throw long, but too long for Mervyn Fernandez. Good pressure coming in on quarterback Berline.
He took a big shot, but he got an accurate ball off. We came within inches of completing that thing, and right at the end of the play, You can see he was concentrating downfield all the way, and he gets a hit.
Michael Brooks was the man coming in from that left side linebacker position that spoiled the timing, so unable to move the ball on 4th and 9. Here's Jeff Gossett, averaging just under 40 a punt. The return man, Vance Johnson, who had a brilliant first half last week in the win over Seattle. In fact, was named ANC Player of the Week. Short kick. Johnson stays away, and rolling out of the way was Wayman Henderson, as that ball taking a lateral bounce, and Johnson alerting his up back, get out of the way, and he did. 41-yard punt. Here comes John Elway and the Denver Broncos. Elway has Juriga, Bishop, Karts, Rookie Wydell, and Lanier, the offensive line. Bobby Humphrey from Alabama. What a year for the rookie. Jeff Alexander, the big back. Jackson and Johnson, the outside men. Clarence Kay, tight end. Those 3 men in pass situations. The shotgun go out. Sewell comes in along with Michael Young and Ricky Nateel for the 4 wide receivers. Elway starts just where Berline did, just inside his 30. He's looking for Johnson. Instead goes underneath to the tight end Mobley, big Orson Mobley, and he's bumped out of bounds near the yardsticks at the 39. Lionel Washington on the corner made the tackle. Front 4 for the Raiders, Howie Long, and he is playing brilliantly. We'll watch him closely today. Golick, Davis, and Townsend complete the front 4. Veteran linebackers in King, Robinson, and Benson. The cornerbacks McDaniel and Washington. Mike Harden, the ex-Bronco, starts at strong safety with Eddie Anderson. Dennis Price, just activated yesterday, former UCLA defensive star, comes in as the extra defensive back in pass situations. And there's Howie Long, injured early in the year when Shanahan was coach, and probably there's no bigger factor in the 1-3 start for the Raiders than the fact that Long couldn't play.
Well, this is the truly dominating player of our time. Lawrence Taylor, I'm sure, is in that category, but Howie Long, off last week's game against New England, you'd have to say he's the best defensive player in the game today. He disrupts the blocking patterns, destroys the people that try to deal with him, and destroy the ball carrier's path to run with the ball aside from his pass rush. So in my opinion, you're looking now at the best defensive player in football today, and not only on the field, but he sets a certain atmosphere with his personality on the practice field and with his ball club.
He's 6'5", 270. He is incredibly quick, and he's tough. He's a former boxer, and he is bright.
We're eliminated from a couple of those ourselves, Dick.
No one's perfect. So on 2nd and short, a big gain for Bobby Humphrey all the way to the 50-yard line for the rookie, and a first down. We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching Miami and Kansas City, and the Chiefs winning 26-21. This is Dick Enberg with Bill Walsh at the Coliseum in Los Angeles on a brilliant day. The Raiders took the opening kickoff, could not move, and now it's Denver's ball. They started at the 30, and here is Bobby Humphrey with a run on 2nd and short, and he burrows for about 11 to the 50-yard line. No score. We played just 2 minutes. Elway going long. Well covered by Washington, and he intercepts it. Lionel Washington has the ball at the 13-yard line with his 2nd interception of the year.
Howie Long was right down the middle on Elway that time, and Elway got it off smoothly, but he couldn't throw it to anyone else. He couldn't do anything else with the ball. Howie's going to come right up inside on Elway, and he had nowhere to go but to throw the ball down the field. Comes up underneath, right there. Here he comes, and we've got all kind of heat, and especially with Townsend coming from that other side.
And Washington with perfect position on Mark Jackson to take the ball for the Raiders, who start at the 13-yard line.
Washington was in great position to jump for the ball. Jackson was still getting there, so it was a throw and Washington.
Steve Smith, the former Penn State star, gets about 5 before Carl Mecklenburg and company can make the tackle. They use Bo Jackson as a bit of a decoy in motion. Elway, who has improved his statistics since Shanahan returned as his quarterback coach. He was more interceptions than touchdowns prior to Shanahan's return, and he's in the plus column now.
I'd also, Dick, give a lot of comment on that offensive line that that Elway's had in protecting him, as well as Shanahan.
That's Fernandez in motion. Bo Jackson. And he battles his way close to a first down at the 23-yard line. Mark Munford with a tackle as we go to NFL Live in New York.
All right, Dick, about 5.5 minutes to play in the snow in Pittsburgh. Gary Anderson is perfect from 18 yards out. The Steelers have tied the Oilers at 16 apiece. Elsewhere at Arrowhead, the red-hot Chiefs continue to play well. They beat Miami 26-21, a severe blow for Don Shula's playoff hopes.
All right, Bob, it started 3 weeks ago when we were fortunate to see an outstanding game in Kansas City at Arrowhead when these Denver Broncos had to come down to an incredible drive by Elway in the final seconds to kick a field goal and to beat Kansas City. Then Kansas City goes to Cleveland, another division leader, and they battle them to an overtime tie, and Lowry misses 3 field goals, so they win that one, and now they come back and beat another contender in Miami. This is a team that is building toward the future, and maybe even 89 is their future.
Even this year.
First down on that run by Jackson with a measurement. Berline well protected. Hits Dial. The tight end is all the way to the 49-yard line.
Well, that's what it's going to take. Once they get field position, now Jackson can take over carrying that ball. He had to get out of a hole. It's a great job. There's good protection here also. Just a 3-man rush. So people are doubling up. Berline's got all kind of time right up over the top. They had pulled people forward with a crossing receiver. That left Dial open behind the linebackers.
Steve Atwater was first there with a hit. He's second in tackles to Mecklenburg. And on first down, not much at all for the Raiders as Bo Jackson stuffed by Fletcher and Holmes and company. Let's check the other scores. Cincinnati apparently on the way to a sweep over Cleveland this year. Pittsburgh is tied just with Kansas City, a winner, 26-21. New England has moved ahead of Indianapolis. That could be a bitter loss for the Colts. 24-17. The Eagles, who led early, have battled back from a tie position. A couple of finals. The Rams, who were down by 10, rallied late to beat Dallas 35-31. Play to Jackson, and he's to the 45 of Denver, where it'll be 3rd down and 4. Ron Holmes, who was acquired for a number 4 draft pick from Tampa Bay earlier this year, made the tackle. He's moved into the starting lineup. Former number 1 pick of the Buccaneers.
Jackson is excellent at just not wasting any motion laterally. He's always up the field. You'll see him break in and out between people. Then he's got power once he's hit to carry people forward. So he'd almost be considered the complete back in football right now. Last week he caught the ball well, so you add that to his blocking improvement, and you see one of the best players in the league. Without any training camp, it's just a dynamic athlete.
He comes out in the shotgun. Berline wide open. Mervyn Fernandez, he breaks tackles, breaks another. First down at the 24.
So far, so good for Berline. He's on the money. He's throwing the ball with some zip on it, so to speak. But the one thing about Fernandez, he runs powerfully. After the catch, he's got excellent strength. Good pattern. We're slipping in coverage, but once he catches it, look at his leg strength. He's so powerful in the thighs, he can make people miss, and they can't quite get the job done. He got an extra 10 yards there just on his strength of carrying the football.
Living up to his nickname, Swervin' Mervyn, and a first down inside the 25 for the Raiders. No score, 8:35 remaining, first quarter. Bo Jackson or Steve Smith this time. Smith inside the 20-yard line, a pickup of about 5. He's moving toward the 400-yard mark on the season, his best as a Raider. He blocked for D.J. Dozier for the Nittany Lions in their 86 NCAA championship year.
Well, they're running to their left behind Graves and Jessic. Now, Graves is a good run blocker, and as we know, historically, not very good in pass protection. So he's at his best now if he can man-man block with a guy right in front of him and get him off that line of scrimmage.
Vance Mueller and Steve Smith. Jackson is not in the lineup currently. Berline into the end zone for Fernandez. Not was the closest Bronco. We might add here that Marcus Allen, as you see number 13, Jay Schrader on the sidelines, and head coach Art Shell. Marcus Allen on the left of your picture, number 32, after a knee injury, has been out for half the season, has been activated for today's game. But Bill Walsh, you talked with Art Shell, and it sounded as if they wouldn't use Allen today.
I don't think they'd like to use him. There really isn't any place for him right now. I'm sure they're trying to find how to use this great player. But in practice, he's working to help the team win, playing defense in practice, playing safety, even lining up a linebacker just to show his enthusiasm for the return of this Raider atmosphere and personality.
Incomplete through the hands of Steve Smith. It should have been caught. Scott Curtis on the coverage. That would have been a first down. Instead, in comes the field goal unit and Jeff Jaeger, who is 15 for 23 this year.
Berline was about a count late on that throw. Smith had it, but then as the ball got there, it traveled a little too far. The defender was able to recover and make a play.
Jaeger's longest this year, 40. This one will be 37 yards. And the Raiders take the early lead on a 37-yard kick by Jaeger. Midpoint of the first quarter here in sunny Los Angeles, California.
What a difference, Dick, between the first Raider game with Denver and this one. I'm not sure the outcome will be different, but the way the Raiders are playing with so much more confidence and so much better execution at this point.
Well, they talked about the intensity of this work week under Art Shell. They know that a loss today all but throws them out of the playoff hunt. A reminder to our viewers, we will be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player for today's game. That to be announced at the conclusion of today's contest.
Well, Art Shell has made a difference with his experience. The Raiders have to believe, and here's a man that's been there, 8 Pro Bowls, World Championships, and they really respond to him remarking on his experiences as a player, the tough games they played, the personalities in Raider history, how they responded to the pressure of winning, how they responded to the top opponents. So not only is his coaching enthusiasm there and a certain amount of coaching expertise, but it's the symbolic part of it. Art Shell, a great player, now leading his Raiders.
Shell was telling us yesterday about how much he was concerned about talking too much about his day as a player, but he said the players keep saying, tell us more, coach, tell us more. Ken Bell back at the 6-yard line. And he's down at the 17-yard line. Good coverage by the Raiders.
Well, Denver will be tested now. This is a good game for Denver playoff-wise because they're in against a tough, incensed opponent in a foreign field, and obviously their record in the past on the road has not been great.
We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching the New England Patriots as they defeated the Colts 22-16. We're in sunny 80-degree Los Angeles. Dick Enberg and Bill Walsh, the Raiders on a 37-yard field goal by Jeff Jaeger had the lead. John Elway, after the ensuing kickoff, starts from the 17, and Bobby Humphrey looked as if he might get a lot more, but has to settle for 4 or 5 yards. The key play in the drive for the Raiders was this one on 3rd down. Steve Berline passed to swerving Mervyn Fernandez. He breaks some tackles and is able to get the ball down inside the Denver 25, where that drive stalled and Jaeger settled for the field goal.
Well, Denver had trouble with Kansas City's defense. They couldn't really get much done other than with trick or special plays like the shovel pass. They're going to have the same problem today. This Raider defense is healthy. Jerry Robinson inside. Townsend losing 15 pounds since they played last and in good shape.
Here comes Humphrey again, and the Sterling rookie, who was a #1 pick in the supplemental draft by the Broncos, has a first down out at the 29-yard line. So Humphrey, the leading ball carrier for the Broncos here in the early going.
Jerry Robinson saved a big play right there. He barely made a complete tackle. One more leg pull, and Humphrey was on his way.
He wants the 1,000 yards. You look at Jerry Robinson, who started with the Eagles, was the #1 pick for Philadelphia, and then came here 5 years ago. This was the field he played on as a collegian for UCLA.
Jerry thinks this atmosphere is much like Dick Vermeil's atmosphere when the Eagles went to the Super Bowl.
Humphrey again. He started today as the #1 rushing rookie in the AFC and #9 in the entire NFL with 803 yards, but averaging only 3.8. He told us yesterday, as we tried to fight off the glitter of gold of those 5 rings that he was wearing, that he really wants 1,000 yards. That's already been accomplished by the Heisman winner of a year ago, Sanders at Detroit.
You know, as a rookie, though, he's already completed a collegiate season. He still has a number of games left, including playoffs. Last week in the locker room, he says, man, I can't believe this season. And we still have games to play. The punishment you take.
Humphrey again.
Boom.
The workhorse.
Punishment.
Howie Long was there to finish the job, set up by Bob Golick. Now let's go from Los Angeles to New York and Bob Costas.
Okay, Dick, and to Foxborough. Come from behind win for the Patriots. 29 seconds remaining. Delayed handoff to John Stevens. Cuts away from one tackler. Near the flag, he'll collide with another. Run him over. In he goes. 10-yard touchdown. It wins the game for the Pats. 22-16 over the Colts. Stevens rushed for 122 yards. Dick?
All right, Bob, and that a disappointing loss for Indianapolis. They go 6-7, and the Patriots, very slim hope, still alive, 5-8. Tough team to beat the Patriots. 3rd down and 2, and a whistle. We may have delay of game. Nope, it's going to be movement before the snap. We'll see on whom. Jerry Seaman, the referee today.
False start prior to the snap, number 88 offense.
Clarence Kay, the tight end, is guilty. So that'll change the play call of head coach Dan Reeves.
Now you're going to see some movement right here just prior to the snap. There it is. It looks like he's trying to get off on the ball to get going, and he misses a count by 1/10 of a second. Of course, that can be, I can understand it. This is an imposing Raider defense, as good as you'll see. Townsend's lost weight. Scott Davis is now playing. Jerry Robinson's healthy. Golick's playing well. Long, that's a good defense.
3rd down and 7. Elway shotgun. Oh, what a play by Elway. Gets it to the tight end and a first down. Orson Mobley, what a target at 6'5" and 260. But there was Elway throwing flat-footed and with a strength of arm, just whistling that to Mobley and a first down.
Very few people can do that, and it is a battle for that young offensive line for Denver, taking on these people, and they're doing a good job here. 2 people on long right in front of you, and Elway, with his legs extended, throws a ball like that. He couldn't even use his body weight to get into the throw.
3.5 minutes remaining in the opening quarter. Denver trailing the Raiders 3-0. First down at the Bronco 45. Oops. Elway looked back at Humphrey and then called time. Obviously a mix-up. And he'll go and chat with head coach Dan Reeves. Well, they talk about Coach of the Year, Bill Walsh, and you've been in that position. Reeves has never won it. Do you think, who are the leading candidates?
Well, he'd have to be one, because he's completely turned over his organization when it really needed change, staff-wise and personnel-wise, and that's as tough a job as you have, certainly with assistant coaches who've worked with you and who have done a fine job, but you need a refreshing new approach. Then players who have won and been in 2 conference championships, changing that around and coming back and playing with this kind of poise and presence, certainly Coach of the Year, it would.
Who are the other candidates, would you think, right now?
Well, I like George Seifert naturally, but I think Lindy Infante and Marty Schottenheimer are 2 people that have done great jobs of resurrecting, rebuilding teams. And Infante took probably the poorest franchise in the league and has made them potential winners this year or next. The same with Schottenheimer. So there are others, of course, we could name, but certainly Dan Reeves is one of the eminent people in the game today.
First down at the 45. Shovel pass pass to Humphrey, and Humphrey is into Raider territory with a 6-yard gain before Tom Benson, who is the Raiders' leading tackler, can make the stop. There's Benson, Plan B from New England.
Townsend almost got that, Dick. He almost got an interception on that. He's going to come inside, and that ball is going to be lateral right here in front of us, and you'll see him see it just a little bit late. He's unblocked, and he sees it just almost in time to get a hold of it. But that was well done.
Jeff Alexander down the backfield with Humphrey on 2nd and 4. Humphrey. Alexander trying to lead the way, but Scott Davis, number 70, held his ground. And then there was help from Jerry Robinson.
Well, Lyndon King over the tight end just stayed right on the tight end and went right down the line of scrimmage with it. And you'll see excellent job here. Excellent here coming down. And Howie Long chasing that behind with people pursuing. And this is a good Denver line. And everybody's determined, but you see people coming down the line right there. They're very, very difficult to handle, and King is right on top of that ball.
3rd down between 3 and 4. There's veteran Lyndon King. Blitz. And it's Elway to Vance Johnson, breaking 1 tackle, and a first down at the 40-yard line.
Well, we're looking at greatness there. That Elway play. He's made hundreds like that in his career that no one else can make. With that arm strength and those instincts. You'll see Elway almost take it, almost get sacked, have to throw up his back foot. Here's unblocked person off his back foot.
And then Russell Carter missing the tackle, the former Jet, and Townsend from behind dragging him down. Just over a minute remaining in the opening quarter. The Broncos trying to drive to their first score, trailing 3-0. Draw play, Alexander, and he has smothered the 232-pound fullback from Southern University, where he starred with the Black Knights. A free agent, Lyndon King, made the tackle.
Alexander is a good player. Good balance in that thing. Good balance and run their backs.
Dick Enberg with Bill Walsh, and we welcome those of you who have been watching Cincinnati and Cleveland. The Bengals with a shutout win at Cleveland. Here it's 3-0 Raiders on a 37-yard Jaeger field goal. We're in the final minute of the opening quarter, and Elway and the Broncos have it 2nd and 7 at the Raider 37. It appeared the Raiders were offside. Free play for Elway. Guns it to Johnson, who is hit immediately at the 30. It appears he has a first down. Terry McDaniel on the left corner made the tackle on an 8-yard play.
Well, Elway is having to make plays along the sideline, throwing that ball 30 yards to make 5, but with the strength of his arm, it gets there before the defender does.
Offside. Defensive left end. Penalty decline. First down.
Here to be Greg Townsend leaning forward.
He'll move just an instant, and that does it. But other way, look at Elway throw all the way across the field. The ball gets there before the defender can. Very few people in the league can get it there that quickly and with that kind of carry on the ball.
That's a heart in a coach's throat play, isn't it? When you throw that long, wide pass.
Some young quarterback sees that and tries it. It's gone the other way.
And the end of the opening quarter. The biggest crowd apparently in the NFL this year. Over 80,000 have seen the Raiders take the early lead. Not much smog in the air here. Los Angeles, what a day for early December. 80-some degrees. We'd like to welcome those of you, and we're not trying to rub it in Pittsburgh, where you've already suffered a tough loss to Houston, 23-16, but it is a glorious football afternoon here in the West. The Raiders battling for a wild card spot against a team that's already clinched their playoff position. The Broncos, and what a hit in the backfield by Howie Long.
There he was again. He's been there all day. This time he got underneath blocks. He tried to pull the guard and tackle, and Howie just followed right behind him, got to the ball before they did.
He's so quick off the ball.
He comes in behind the pulling guard and tackle to make the stop. Now, a tight end on the backside of that play was asked to cut him off. No way. No way it can be done.
Ricky Nattiel, the sprinter wide receiver from Florida, comes into the lineup for Denver. Second and long. Elway guns complete to Vance Johnson. An acrobatic catch at the Raider 25. It'll be short of the first down by about 9 yards for Johnson, who had a big game last week. Well, a big game in the first half against Seattle when he had over 150 yards and receptions, his best ever game in Denver.
Well, Johnson and Mark Jackson are both, and Nattiel, all these people are very, very nimble, quick athletes that once they're clean, they can make people miss. That's one of the great advantages they have. They're great open field runners after the catch.
6 defensive backs for the Raiders. Elway eludes McDaniel and throws toward the sideline, incomplete. Had a man open on the run. Ricky Nattiel, but overshot him. But boy, Elway does such a job. So many quarterbacks don't have that mobility and that pressure coming quickly untouched and nimbly. Elway eluding him.
McDonald, Dick, will come from the outside. He appears that he's going to cover one of these receivers, but instead he's going to blitz. And it takes a great athlete. He's unblocked. Elway sees it coming, waits, and then moves. We could talk all day about Elway's ability to hold and avoid as people just about tackle him.
Here's David Treadwell, who has missed only 4 of 25. This will be a 42-yard attempt. It's blocked. And the Raiders maintain their 3-0 lead.
Excellent push up the middle. I guess it was blocked from our vantage point. We couldn't see it. We can take a look here to see actually what happened. It was a just low kick. It never came up. There was good push, but a low kick.
I thought I heard a thump, that old thud, the nightmare for any kicker. And watch number 70, Scott Davis.
Well, it actually was blocked. You'll see Scott's hand right there. Block the ball. He just got the edge of it. And then you could tell because the ball started turning in the other direction. So obviously had to be hit. Davis is a big guy, 6'7".
So the Raiders maintain their 3-0 lead. And here's Bo Jackson. For 11 yards.
At least the last 5 yards of that was strictly Bo carrying people with him and gaining speed as he did it.
You know, in the history of the National Football League, only one man has run for touchdowns of 90 yards or more 2 times. Bo Jackson. It's hard to believe in all the great runners that have graced this game. Jackson, in his short half career, has done it twice.
Well, he's running with power, and of course the speed will show up if somebody misses a tackle.
6-yard average, that'll work in the Canadian League. Steve Smith for a couple of yards on first down. We're in Los Angeles. Bob Costas is in New York.
And the highlight is in Pittsburgh. Here's how the Oilers won the game you mentioned a moment ago, Dick. Lorenzo White over the top for the touchdown. He carried 22 times for 115 yards. Jerry Glanville celebrates a 23-16 victory that puts the Oilers atop the AFC Central. It's tightly bunched. And you see Pittsburgh at 6-7 really would have been in good shape had they won this game, but it slipped away. Dick?
All right, Bob, the Oilers at 8-5. Cleveland drops a half game back at 7-5-1, and then Cincinnati right there at 7-6. Fumbled snap. Who's got it? The Broncos have recovered. It appeared to be Mecklenburg, who's always around the ball. There he is, number 77, Carl Mecklenburg, the 3-time Pro Bowler, as Berline had trouble receiving the snap, and the Broncos get a big exchange.
Well, talking to Art Shell before the game, this is what he didn't want. Naturally, turnovers. Denver wins on turnovers. If you look at Denver's offense, Their offense is one of the poorer offenses statistically in the league.
We come back. It's the Broncos at the 33. Tremendous crowd here in Los Angeles. You can see fans even down in the peristyle end as John Elway, after the fumble recovery, throws underneath. And inside the 30 goes Melvin Bratton, the former fullback at Miami. Quickly, let's go through the other scores in case you've missed them. The early finals. There they are. Winners: Cincinnati, Houston, Kansas City, New England, Philadelphia, 2 over the Giants. They move into first. And Green Bay edges Tampa Bay. Detroit a winner. Rams rallied to win at Dallas. And San Francisco goes to 11-2. Jets have an early lead at San Diego, and the Redskins a field goal up on Phoenix. Here it's the Raiders 3, Denver nothing. 11:50 remaining in the second quarter. Elway throwing, almost intercepted into a crowd. He was trying to throw it away. It appears a flag is down as Elway threw the ball.
Looked like he was roughed. That's a tough call when it's really a tough call when you're running outside the pocket as a quarterback. They give a little more leeway to the defense. So we'll have to see get a good look at it. But they threw that flag right away. Townsend's got speed. He was getting there.
Personal foul, roughing the passer, number 93 defense, first down.
Yeah, let's see what Townsend did.
Elway coming outside, throws. Yeah, it's uncalled for. There's more of that in football than there should be. And I've always wondered why they didn't clean it up by calling it once in a while. You just don't shove people unnecessarily, clear away from the ball, and that kind of thing.
But it is amazing how Elway can elude a real hard hit, and yet a little push. He went down so quickly. Good piece of work by Elway to get 15 yards and a first down at the 15. Humphrey tripped up by Long and staggers forward for 3, and Howie Long right in the middle. They're double teaming Long, and they still can't stop him.
He just destroys the blocking patterns. He disrupts them, and he's not getting that many sacks or tackles, but he just takes apart everything else, knocks people off course, pushes blockers out of the way. He's right there. People have to jump over him. Then somebody else makes the tackle. It just disrupts everything.
Howie picked number 75 because as he grew up as a player, he admired Joe Green, the Hall of Famer of the Steelers. And he's playing at that level right now. Hall of Fame level. Incomplete. Vance Johnson short hopped him. For a moment, I thought John would run it. He had a lot of room.
I'm sure it crossed his mind for an instant. Then he saw Johnson, and he had an easy touchdown. He just flipped the ball and misjudged it because he was running one way and Johnson was running the other way. So they were sort of separating as he threw the ball.
So third down and a short 8 for Elway and the Broncos. They're in field goal range, trailing 3-0 as the passing team comes in. That means Natil and Young, extra wide receivers with Johnson and Jackson. And the Raiders counter with extra defensive backs, Dennis Price and Russell Carter. Oops, offside against the Broncos. And that will not be a touchdown as Vance Johnson makes a great catch. But they're going to call it back. It appeared that the man lined up on the left side had jumped prematurely, Orson Mobley. And so it is.
Well, you don't see them make many mistakes, but this is a costly one here.
Illegal motion, number 89 offense. Still third down.
You can see Reeves saying, "Know the snap count," and perhaps some other words.
You're going to see a movement right here a little bit early, and there's the movement right there. Now that man's told to watch the ball, not listen to the snap count. He listens for an audible, but then he watches the ball because often he can't hear well enough to be sure.
And that takes away a great catch from Vance Johnson and the lead. Now third down, 13. Elway, incomplete. He had to throw it away. Mark Jackson was well covered, and a flag is down.
That's the problem with holding the ball so long. Elway has so much confidence and poise that he held the ball too long, and finally somebody's caught holding.
Now the Raiders have an interesting choice here. Art Shell, do you take the penalty, give Denver another shot at a long pass that could be a touchdown, or do you make them kick the field goal right here? They're going to decline.
Number 60 offense, penalty decline, 4th down.
Gerald Ice Truck Perry, who has not practiced this week. He was convicted of solicitation, was Perry, number 60 of the Broncos. And so perhaps not quite in tune with his teammates. They declined the penalty, Art Shell. And here's Treadwell, who had one blocked, or at least it appeared so, from 42 yards. This one would tie it from 34. And we have a new game. So the fumble recovery by Mecklenburg leads to the tying field goal here in Los Angeles. For so many years, the home of the Los Angeles Rams, and if you really have a lot of gray, the Los Angeles Dons back in the 40s. Now the Los Angeles Raiders, and how long will they remain at the Coliseum? Well, it's quite a testimony of the fans of Southern California. Here's a team 6-6, a team that has not shown a great deal of love for this city, and it's talking about Sacramento and Oakland in its future, and yet 80 to 85,000 here today to see them and root for them to get into the playoffs against a team best record in the AFC. The Broncos are tied at 3 as Treadwell spins it down to Stephon Adams. Adams at the 20 and the 21-yard line, hit by good coverage from the Broncos. Let's go to New York.
All right, Dick, a dramatic conclusion in Tampa as time expires. Chris Jackie of the Packers connects from 47 yards out. It's a 17-16 Green Bay win, half of their 8 victories this year by a single point. And now, believe it or not, the Packers lead the NFC Central at 8-5, pending the outcome of the Viking game tonight against the Bears. Dick and Bill?
Well, Bill, we were in a car a couple weeks ago after a Kansas City game. You said, you know, we're liable to see a lot of the Chiefs and the Packers in the next few years. Those are 2 teams that are building. Bo Jackson tripped up as he crosses the 20-yard line. Good play by Simon Fletcher, who played his college ball at Houston. And congratulations to the Cougars' Andre Ware, the Heisman winner, 1989.
He won it the hard way, didn't he, Dick?
He did, and didn't he handle himself well? He's an impressive young junior quarterback, and they say he's got a great NFL future ahead, but he says it'll be a year. He's staying at Houston for Jack Pardee, who played here at the Coliseum many years as a Ram.
Well, that's great to see him complete his eligibility, stay with his institution, and he did it the hard way with all the promotion and fanfare that goes with that trophy now and that award. He just performed.
Second down and 10. Berline, lots of time, and he has a first down out at the 31-yard line to Mervin Fernandez. We asked Marcus Allen. Of course, the Heisman winners all get a ballot, a vote. And, of course, that meant 3 votes from the Raider camp. Marcus Allen yesterday said, you can't ignore the numbers. I mean, Ware was my pick. That was before they announced that young Andre had the trophy. He said about the Heisman, I didn't realize how important it was till people came over to the house and said, where's the trophy?
Well, he was receiving so many awards, one after another, including the Heisman, that finally when he put all the trophies together, everybody went right over that Heisman. That was the one they respected.
First down play, and it's Steve Smith up the middle. Greg Cragen, the nose tackle, tripped him up after a 4-yard gain. Munford there as well. But he said, and it's typical of Marcus, and later on tonight on NBC, we hope you'll stay with us for a very special program, Isaiah Thomas's story, which really is the mother of Isaiah Thomas. But he says his parents are here today, Marcus Allen said. Mom and Dad, they've never missed a game going back to junior high school. And they were the ones who were really pleased most about the Heisman. That was my thank you to them. Not much there for Vincent Edward Jackson from Bessemer, Alabama, Carricker and Robbins. And, of course, number 34 is going to draw a crowd all day.
You know, this is really, at this point, a very clean, hard-hitting game. both sides respect each other. You don't see all the acting and the demonstrating. These people are just here to play football, and I think it's a good example for a lot of the. I saw one bowl game, Dick, this weekend that was really disgusting, the way that the athletes were acting on the field. And just watch these people. They're professionals, and they're here to play football.
4 wideouts as Alexander joins the group in a triple left with Fernandez in motion. Oh my, did Berline get leveled by Simon Fletcher and Carl Mecklenburg.
Well, Mecklenburg matched up with Rory Graves on that right side defensively is tough, because he's so strong and so quick coming off that side of the field that he's going to make a big difference. Get that push on the back side of Berline.
Oh.
That is something that's hard to get up from.
That on the coach's list is a hurry. That sounds innocent enough.
A hurry.
Jeff Gossett, a short kick to Natil at the 30. He's got room, but flags are down as Natil dropped at the 49 of Denver, and they're going to bring that one back, I believe. Steve Strahan made the tackle.
Well, for so many years, field position has meant so much to football, but the kicking game infractions just take away field position. I don't know what those older coaches of years past would have done with all of this kind of these fouls.
For whatever reason, another official came over and dropped his yellow flag right next to the other, as if to emphasize there's no doubt about it. Or was that a second penalty? Holding against Denver. Well, they got 2 different holding and a push in the back.
But that just destroys field position. You almost want to say, don't block anybody. Try to block the punt and fair catch it. I think your percentages would be about the same.
Holding number 95 receiving team post possession. That penalty will be accepted. We had illegal hands during the return. Number 29 receiving team. That penalty will be declined. First down.
Now that is a big penalty. Instead of starting at their 49, Denver instead will open at its 17. It's tied at 3, and welcome back to Los Angeles, middle of the second quarter. A little bit surprised by Dan Reeves' remarks before. Out of character, wasn't it? He said, I don't like them. I don't like the Raiders. Never have.
He was in a bad mood that day, I'm sure of that. But I understand that the Raiders have taken a lot of pride in their accomplishments and made sure everybody knows what they've done in the recent 15 or 18 years. And Dan says, well, with all of that, they keep picking different years to make themselves the top franchise of all time. So I understand it.
Were you ever really upset to had a team that you didn't like?
Well, it might have been the Broncos. We couldn't beat them.
Denver starts from the 17. A play action pass with Humphrey throwing out of bounds. Mark Jackson over there. Terry McDaniel on the coverage, but the ball was uncatchable. Well, the Raiders call themselves the team not of the decade but of the decades, and
I don't like that.
You didn't like this when you saw the Raider helmet being so big and those other little ones, Green Bay,
you got these little midget helmets.
and Reeves alluded to that. He said, I just get one of the things I don't like about the Raiders is the fact that all the propaganda. What propaganda? You can't see anything around the Coliseum, can you?
No, not at all. No signs.
Play to Humphrey, who sprints out to the 30-yard line, and a first down. He's had a good first half. Humphrey is up over half 100, I believe, or close to it now. 42 yards now for Bobby.
That's the first time Humphrey's really been able to stride out on a carry of the ball, on a possession, because otherwise he was banging people to get 3 and 4 yards.
3 times this season, over 100 yards. You have to go back to one of the greats in Bronco history, Otis Armstrong. There you see one of
many signs.
Literally over 100 signs that reminds you commitment to excellence is the Raiders' theme. Underneath, Sammy Winder, the veteran from southern Mississippi, who picks up about 9 yards. And even in the pre-game warm-ups, fans would look up at the scoreboard and be reminded that since Al Davis took over in '63, the Raiders have the best winning record of any professional franchise.
But today, the Broncos want to win it, get momentum, and win their first Super Bowl after having been there 3 times previously.
And 2 very disappointing defeats, overwhelming losses by Dan Reeves' coach teams. Steve Sewell is in there. So is the Raiders' Bob Golick. Golick shooting through, the veteran nose tackle who played with the Browns for many years, a native of Cleveland. He said, I asked him yesterday, this is a can't-miss character someplace in television after his career. I asked him about, as you watch him make this hit on Winder for a loss, if he had never seen Bo Jackson play in person until Jackson joined the team in the middle of this year. And what his impression was, we'll save that after this play. 3rd down now and closer to 2. And a big hole for Humphrey, and then he's hit hard by Mike Harden, the former Bronco. A textbook tackle for Harden, but it is a first down, Denver, out at their own 44-yard line. Back to Golick. He said the first time he saw Jackson, he made that 90-some-yard run. He said, I wanted to run out in the field and ask him for his autograph right then. He said, then I thought quickly. I said, no, that's 12 men on the field, and heck, I can get his autograph on Monday in practice.
He had to wait in line, I'm sure. There's Jackson sitting, I think, on his helmet, which is a real crux of the problem with Shanahan. We can get into that.
Elway on first down. This 3-3 tie underneath the Winder. Breaks a couple of tackles in Raider territory at the 48-yard line. 8 yards on the play. Did you allow your
Not at all, Dick.
What's wrong with that?
We wanted people on their feet or on a knee, but look at this. It's symbolic. It's almost like a ritual for the Raiders. It started many years ago. There's a practice scene sitting on that helmet. Now, Shanahan didn't believe in it. Reeves doesn't believe in it. Landry didn't believe in it years ago. But the Raiders adapt. Somehow that began to happen, and when it was taken away from them, they were just at a loss. They just couldn't. It didn't make sense to them not to be able to sit on that.
Melvin Bratton, who carries the ball rarely, that's only his 16th carry of the year, but the big 225-pounder has a first down at the Raider 44-yard line before Golick can get him. The other thing that Jerry Robinson was saying was little things like having your name in summer camp on a chair. You couldn't just sit anywhere you wanted to. That they had to wear pads and practice on Friday. Shanahan, those aren't unusual requests.
No, I think that's very typical. Shanahan learned that in coaching classes he took in college and from other people. It's very typical, except for the Raiders. They have another way of doing things, and they want that history and that symbolism as part of their organization.
And they have it with Art Shell. Meanwhile, Denver, the throw is incomplete, close to interference, but no flag as Robinson breaks up the play intended for Clarence Kay.
Robinson was covering Kay man-to-man and was right on his hip. Elway had to throw up his back foot, couldn't get much on the ball, and that's the result. Good defensive play. Now, if we see Elway have to throw off his back foot because of the pressure by Townsend, throwing as it was leaning back, not enough crispness on the throw, so Robinson could make the play.
And it was a good play, well timed. Well, what a picture, a jewel of a sight here in Los Angeles this afternoon. Huge crowd. Tied at 3. Less than 3 minutes left in the half. It's Humphrey sprinting into the clear and close to a first down at the Raider 33 before Tom Benson, the former Patriot, can make the tackle.
Well, Eddie Anderson really had a shot at Humphrey, and I guess would have knocked him down, but Humphrey made a beautiful move just before he was tackled. He's always working upfield. He's a real smooth runner. That's how he describes himself, as a natural, smooth, gliding type runner. He's got real deception in making people miss.
They'll measure for the first down as Humphrey now has 57 yards in this opening half. On pace for another 100-yard game. Boy, it is close. First down as it just tickles that yardstick. Time remaining, 2:41. First half as the wave has hit the Coliseum.
You know, there's Dan Reeves, and we have Art Shell. Two different backgrounds from the standpoint of their playing days and the people they worked for and coached under and played under, and two different styles, but one thing very unique, they had distinct styles and philosophies within their organizations. Dallas on one hand, the Raiders on the other.
On first down at the 33. The Broncos trying to take the lead before the intermission. The busy man is Humphrey again. And look at him fight all the way to the 22. And he has 11 more yards to give him 69 for this opening half. And he may be on his way to his best rushing day in his initial year in the league. He's closing in on 900 for the season.
Humphrey describes himself as a gliding runner. That's not gliding. You're going to get a lead play up inside with him just breaking full speed up inside with a quarterback handing off here. He's got an excellent block up front by his fullback. People turning people. There's the block on Benson. Now Humphrey just keeps that leg drive going. And he has excellent safeties tackling him. Good job.
2-minute timeout. Welcome back to Los Angeles. 2 minutes to go. First down, Denver, and a 3-all tie. Opening half. And it's Humphrey again. And Humphrey to the 20-yard line and then rejected. Piloting the MetLife blimp for today's game is Captain Joe Whalen from Hot Springs, Arkansas. 194-foot-long MetLife blimp based in Kissimmee, Florida. And Kissimmee, you too.
Wonder how long it takes to fly it here from Florida. Must have breakfast, dinner, lunch, whatever.
Had a chance to fly on.
Or maybe they drop in on a motel or something. Yeah. But, you know, Humphrey talks about himself as a Marcus Allen clone. He thoroughly respects Allen and his style and believes he would like to play the same kind of football.
Elway underneath, wide open is Natil, and he has a first down at the 8-yard line. A dozen more. Elway to Natil, who missed much of this year with a knee injury.
Natil's going to come across the field and get clean in front of zone defenders. You can see the Raiders dropping into a zone defense, letting him come across that field. Nobody chasing him. He stops between linebackers. There's Robinson chasing him.
First down with 1 minute, 3 seconds to go and a timeout. Yeah, the newspaper tells you about the sacks, but they don't tell you about the hits, and Elway was really popped as he delivered that last one to Natil as Townsend got to him just as he delivered the ball. Elway nevertheless accurate, and it's first and goal, Broncos in a 3-all tie. Humphrey as they try to cross up the Raider defense with a run, and Humphrey's been successful all day. Bob Golick in on that play. Let's go back to the last play. Elway throwing to Natil.
Well, you'll see Townsend right here with Perry trying to block him. Great move by Townsend.
Yeah, those don't show up in the scorebook. Here's a hit to Bratton, and Melvin Bratton fights into the end zone for a touchdown. His first rushing touchdown as a pro, and the celebration with Bobby Humphrey.
But Bratton was demonstrated there his power. Real power. He hasn't done much of it yet in the NFL, but tremendous power.
So the Broncos take the lead, and now Dan Reeves sends out the extra point unit to try to make it 10-3. And the congratulations to Bratton. He has a couple of touchdowns on receptions, but that's the first one running the ball, and he showed his power.
Well, they knew he had the potential. He had a knee injury coming out of the University of Miami, and they didn't know if he'd make it or not.
Mike Harden was one of the men trying to make the tackle, and he has not gotten up yet.
Well, we're going to see a pulling guard and a trap play that's going to come inside with Elway handing off. Now, the right guard, Waddell, does a fine job of turning Robinson in right at the bottom of your screen, right there. But look at the power, right from the 3-yard line all the way in.
Just drove Eddie Anderson back, and then Harden got pinned underneath, and Harden leaves under his own power. Melvin Bratton, he was picked in the draft of a year ago by Miami, but the Dolphins could not sign him. He was recovering from a serious knee injury as a senior with the Hurricanes, and then Denver went after him, and it's been a good pick for him.
Often it takes 2 or 3 years to recover from some of those real severe injuries, but then you're a player, much like Kevin Fagan, who played at Miami, who's now with the 49ers.
Here's Treadwell to tack on the extra point. So timeout. The Raiders will have 37 seconds before the end of the half. They now trail 10-3. Quite a drive by the Broncos, 82 yards, 54 the yards consumed on runs by Bobby Humphrey, and Melvin Bratton gets the icing, a 5-yard touchdown plunge, and it's 10-3 Denver as the AFC Western champions and the best record in the American Conference showing their medal today against a team that must win to stay in the playoff hunt. Here comes Vance Mueller. Plenty of speed, but he's caught from behind. Good play by Bruce Klosterman. Let's check the other scores. There's the finals and a big win for the Bengals. They're now trailing Houston first in the AFC Central. Kansas City alive 6-6-1. New England spoiling the Colts' hopes. Philadelphia now in first place in the NFC East. Green Bay, a team on the come. Detroit, another win. Upsets New Orleans. The Rams really struggled to beat Dallas. San Francisco breezes along like Denver, the best record in the NFC. The Jets have a 7-0 lead, and Washington and Phoenix are tied at 10. Only 30 seconds left in the half. Bo Jackson breaking a tackle. Boy, he just shredded Steve Atwater as if the rookie was water. And Atwater is 220 pounds, and he just, when Atwater came up, I can't believe it. I didn't even slow him down.
Well, his pads are low and his knees are high. There isn't anything to grab.
And the Raiders are not going to grab at any wild chance. They're going to let the clock run out. And that, to the disappointment of this big crowd in Los Angeles, the end of the first half. A defensive half of football with the only touchdown drive, a long one engineered by John Elway using the talents of his rookie running back Bobby Humphrey. And the Broncos, coming in 10-2, have a lead of 10-3 thanks to that young talent. And the Raiders now are going to have to get serious. They're 6-6. They need a win to entertain high hopes for the playoffs. Stay with us. All the scores and highlights coming up. Bob Costas, and here at the Coliseum in Los Angeles, the Denver Broncos on a late second quarter touchdown drive have the lead 10-3 as they look to solidify their home field advantage in the playoffs. Here's the Coors halftime numbers. 74 of those 87 Bronco rushing yards by Bobby Humphrey. He is the offensive star of this first half. What impressed you most about the first 30 minutes?
Well, I like the way Reeves handled his team and managed the game itself, because his play calling, the way he handled it right at the end of the half, running the ball twice for touchdowns, did a beautiful job.
You know, it's an interesting point. The one drive was 8.5 minutes when they missed the field goal. The other drive for a touchdown was 6.5. That's 15 minutes on 2 possessions. That's half the first 30 minutes.
Against a very, very good, incensed defense, no question.
And the second half, any predictions?
Same thing. The Raiders are going to have to make a big play with Bo Jackson. And
we'll have that second half kickoff for you from Los Angeles right after these words from your local station. Welcome back to the Coliseum in Los Angeles. Over 80,000. We open the second half. The Raiders kicking it off. Jager trailing 10-3. A high short kick. On the run, Carrington takes it, and he's hit immediately at the 25-yard line. Darren Carrington hit by Ethan Horton, the tight end, number 88. Only 6 on the return. Here comes Elway on the Bronco offense. They were very deliberate, used up huge chunks of time on the ground. Elway throwing 16 times. Most of those short yardage, really didn't unload anything, threw underneath the defense, and then used Humphrey on the ground.
Just well orchestrated all the way around. The play calling was very, very good. The execution was there against a fine, solid, aggressive defense of the Raiders.
Mobley in motion as they come out with 2 tight ends and give to Humphrey. Nice bit of ad-libbing by Humphrey. There was nothing off tackle, so he cut it outside and gains around 7 before Terry Robinson and Lyndon King tackle him.
You know, Dick, as he runs, it is much reminiscent of Marcus Allen. It really is. He runs a little bit lower than Marcus, and he's maybe a little faster. Marcus still has a great knack for making people totally miss him. But Humphrey's idol was Marcus, and he's emulated him, and he's going to probably have a career much like Marcus, a truly great football player.
Humphrey said after the game up in Denver, he made it a point to go over and introduce himself to Marcus, and Marcus said, "I know who you are." 2nd and 4. Humphrey again. Ooh, you could hear the contact, and it sounded like a Howie Long tackle. Townsend was in there as well.
Humphrey pushed Howie. Not smart. Howie is probably getting a little frustrated. They need points.
Well, we talked to Humphrey about the fact that does he talk back? He said, "I hear a lot of stuff from defensive players." And we said, "Well, do you talk back to him?" He said, "Only to the small ones."
That time he took on a big one. But between Townsend and the rest of them, Scott Davis, Golick, and Long, that is a great front four. But the Broncos are just dissecting them. Just dissecting them.
3rd and 3. Elway underneath to Humphrey. He squirts out from a couple of tacklers and has a first down at the 41. Lyndon King finally got him to the turf. 8 more yards for Humphrey.
Well, Benson and Robinson, 2 fine tacklers, are right there. He got underneath both of them to get the first down.
There's Jerry Robinson, who had his number retired after 3 All-America years at UCLA, wore 84 with the Bruins. He played against Art Shell in the Super Bowl after the '80 season down in the Superdome when the Eagles lost to the Raiders.
The only negative is he says Art was a professional holder as an offensive tackle. Other than that, he's been a great guy.
Elway, play action and going deep. And a flag down, but the catch by Vance Johnson.
That might have been offense. It looked like Vance actually did the shoving.
They spotted at the 31-yard line. Now the penalty.
About halfway down the field, it looked like Vance Johnson shoved to get clear.
Pass interference, number 82 offense, holding, number 32 defense.
There it is.
Offsetting penalties, replay the data.
It was right in front of Dan Reeves, and obviously he didn't concur.
Right about the 35-yard line, it looked like there was some pushing and tugging, but Vance Johnson pushed at the last moment to get himself clear to make the play.
They both were pushing, but you see the last action, and that was against Johnson. Vance Johnson denied nearly a 30-yard gain. He had a touchdown taken away on an offside call against his teammate Mobley earlier in the first half. Bobby Humphrey buried for a loss. They were waiting for him that time, and Greg Townsend from TCU finally got him down. There's Townsend, who leads the team in sacks with 9.5 and has 5 forced fumbles.
Townsend is, here he is right here. Now you'll see him coming up the field and just dominating that side of the line of scrimmage and then pursuing outside. Townsend's lost, what, Dick, 15 pounds since we saw him last.
Oh, at least.
What a difference. First time I saw him, I didn't even recognize him. I guess he came from camp and into camp real heavy, but now he's in shape.
On vacation, he fell in love with a special Jamaican roll, some pastry. He said he couldn't get enough of them.
Couldn't stay clear of him.
He was over 270. Elway into the flat to Humphrey, and they're going to call in the grasp, apparently. No play. Howie Long getting to Elway. One great star after another. Or it might have been Scott Davis in there as well, number 70.
Here he comes up the field. Looks like Scott Davis is underneath everything. Then Mike Wise it could have been. But the Raiders have 3 people, Scott Davis, Mike Wise, and Bill Pickell. Big, angular, aggressive football players. And they're not totally gifted as athletes. I'm not sure they're Pro Bowl players this year. but they're a force as a unit.
Davis was their #1 draft pick out of Illinois a year ago. So now 3rd and a bunch. And the 45-second clock already down to a 0. That really went in a hurry.
Delay of game offense.
So it's now 3rd and 22. As they'll move the ball back to the 27-yard line.
Well, the key here will be to get part of that back. Don't necessarily expect it. But if you can get 10 yards, it's 10 yards of field position. And they really need that against these Raiders. Because the Raiders aren't moving the ball out effectively. They just need to keep the Raiders on their side of the 50, on the Raiders' side.
Boy, that Reeves is battling here in Los Angeles. There's no doubt but what he wants this win.
Zone defense.
Elway caught by Long and then throw it wide. There's no penalty on the play, and he was not in the control of Long, but Howie was harassing again.
Long's coming up the field. Now Elway on a design play coming outside to his right. Long just uses that tremendous power, controls his man, comes off a block, and makes a play. Now Doug Weidel is being given an education today. Dan Reeves thinks Weidel is an excellent young prospect, but he's in against one of the great all-time defensive linemen.
Horan is punting for the first time in the game, and oh my, just gets it away. Partially blocked, I believe, and the Raiders will have it at the 43-yard line, and the crowd loves it.
High snap, way up. Good athletic job of picking that thing up.
And Horan lucky to get the ball away. It'll be the Raiders' ball, trailing by 7 at the Bronco 43. Series of penalties against the Broncos when they had the ball at midfield, plus a high snap and a short kick. And the Raiders have excellent field position. They start at the Denver 43, needing a touchdown to tie. 10 minutes left, third quarter. Berline has his hand hit by number 90, Ron Holmes. Is it a fumble? No, they rule it. Forward pass incomplete.
Well, the Raiders have to get something here. When you're given this kind of field position against a top defense, this is the best you can do. They need points here, even if it's only 3.
Let's look at Holmes, who played at Washington.
Now they have just a 3-man rush. I think on the back side of this, on the right, there he comes from the outside, making a play, and really 4 men rushing. They shouldn't have been able to get to him that way.
Holmes has 6 sacks in the last 6 games as he's taken over, beating out Andre Townsend for that right end job. Draw to Bow, and they're there to meet him at the 40-yard line. Here it's 10-3 Denver. The third, late scores, Jets and San Diego tied, and so are the Skins and the Cards. Boy, the big story, though, is in the central divisions of the NFC and AFC, where Houston now has moved to top of the AFC Central with its win today, a tough win in Pittsburgh, and Green Bay, for the moment, the Packers lead the NFC Central.
They need something right here. Getting that field position, they just can't come away with 0.
Berline from the shotgun. But Brooks gets him from behind and denies the first down at the 35. He's about 2.5 yards short. You can see there Berline, who has better speed than that, but has a bad knee, and he talked about that yesterday. He said, I just can't move around like I'd like to. I'll do the best I can. Otherwise, he'd have had first down yardage.
Oh, he certainly would have. They've eliminated a lot of plays that they would like to use in the form of bootleg plays, fakes, and then the quarterback ending up to the outside. Eliminated those because of that bad right knee.
Jay Schrader waiting in the wings. They'll go for it on 4th and 2.5.
This is a good call. Good judgment right here. They won't get this chance again.
Wide open is Steve Smith and a first down at the 25. Scott Curtis made the tackle.
Well, Berline is a fine all-around athlete. Dick, reflecting with him, a diver was he in high school, a top driver, a basketball player, baseball player, excellent all-around athletic ability. And all of that competition gives him the poise. Playing at Notre Dame gives him the poise.
Scott Curtis playing for Rick Dennison. Dennison is not in uniform. He's with his wife who is ill. So first down the Raiders as they convert on 4th and 2. Ball for 2 or maybe 3. Boy, that's the big improvement in this Denver team, and Dan Reeves talked about it. He said, I thought we'd be better offensively and we'd come along defensively. He said, but right from the opening game, the defense has been our strength, and they're number 2 in the league in least points allowed coming in, and number 5 totally in defense in the NFL. 9th against the run, 3rd against the pass.
Well, for the first time in maybe recent history, they're stopping the run each week. Consistently stopping the run.
Down the middle and almost intercepted by Mecklenburg. Almost as if he knew where Berline was going to throw. He was waiting in the weeds.
There are about 4 passes a game by Berline in the last 2 weeks now where he's forced the ball with a defender standing right next to a receiver. In that case, 2 linebackers converging on a tight end.
Mike Dial was the intended receiver, and Berline got it busy.
They've got to get 3 points here, so he can't be sacked. Can't botch this play, even if it's an incomplete pass. They moved.
That's going to make it tougher. Let's see against whom. It appeared to be against the offense. Jerry Seaman will let us know.
False start prior to the snap. Number 63 offense. Still 3rd down.
See, this is what hurts.
So that'll make it 3rd down and about 12. Giesick played at Cal State Sacramento, one of the smaller college athletes who have proven to be a solid starter in the NFL. He was a 10th round pick a couple of years ago. It's a shame that we only point out some of those offensive linemen on a penalty, but they're not all bad.
Well, it's a fine young offensive line. Al Davis had lunch with him the other day. He serves a beautiful lunch, but he says what he wants to say. And one thing he did say is he really thinks this offensive line is one that will stay in place for some time.
3rd and long, and Berline throws incomplete to Mike Alexander. And now with that penalty, Jaeger will come on and try a much longer field goal. His range is really about at 40 to 45.
These are the kinds of things that win or lose a ball game right here. It's a long field goal, a missed field goal that was related to an incomplete pass the play before. It all sort of adds up to just failing to win a football game, just by a few points.
This would be his longest of the year if he makes it 46 yards. And he has got it. So Jeff Jaeger, the former Cleveland Brown, has 37 and 46-yard field goals today, and the Denver lead is cut to 10-6. Just sliding it inside the right upright with 6:49 left in the 3rd. They're all so important now, and for the Raiders, down 10-6, they kick off here in the 3rd. It's Ken Bell. Bell out to the 25-yard line. Let's look now with the finals in at the AFC Central Division. Houston, with a tough win today against the Steelers, is now in first place. The Browns in a bit of a slump now, a half game back, and Cincinnati with 2 wins over Cleveland at 7-6. And you'll see those teams next week on NBC. The 12:30 games, Kansas City at Green Bay, perhaps the 2 big surprise teams of this year. Chargers and Washington will be in D.C. with Bill, Seattle, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and the Jets in the late game, Cleveland and Indianapolis. NFL Live at 12:30 Eastern Time. Draw play to Humphrey. gets outside and then shows his power as he bowls out to the 33, a gain of 9 before Mike Harden, who's back in the game for the Raiders, can get him down.
Time and time again, Humphrey starts inside on a design play inside and then turns and bounces out. Watch, he'll go up inside. He's supposed to go right there. He sees a linebacker unblocked and skids to the outside, then up in between people. He's done it over and over. Those people on the edges of the Raider defense have to hold the line, hold their ground, and wait for him to come to him. Because about every other time, he'll come out their way.
He's 7 yards away from 900 on the year. And they're waiting for him this time, and Howie Long gets his 270 pounds around the ankles, says that'll be it. Howie, whose dream was to be a power forward with the Boston Celtics as he grew up in the Beantown area.
Well, he would be a power forward, I know that.
Look at him fight through the crowd to get to the ball.
Well, Wydell is getting the test of his life. Wydell is trying to handle Howie too high. You've got to go underneath him if you have any chance to block him.
Come to think of it, he is a power forward.
He's
Just
a power straight forward.
Different league. I know you were talking about how slender you are, Bill. You got that 30-inch waist. One thigh for Howie Long is 30 inches. One thigh.
Well, I'll just put a few inches on my waist and we'll find out. See it.
Long. His dad gets a lot of his size from his dad, who was a 6'8" truck driver. And make him all the more frightening, he sleepwalks, so he has trouble finding roommates on the road. It's 3rd and inches. And Humphrey again. And it appears he got enough to the 35, but boy, that's some pretty tough short yardage defense. Lionel Washington up to support that defensive line, but from where they've spotted the ball, that appears to be enough for a new series of downs. But they will measure to make it official.
Dan Reeves manages a game, and it comes through experience. A great at managing a football game would be Tom Landry in the past, or a Don Shula, but especially a Tom Landry. And Dan has learned from him. When I say managing, being able to deal with all of the situations that come up and make a good, solid decision as he sees them, whether the wind's blowing and he has to account for it, or his team's well behind, or they're using the clock, or just identifying what the defense is doing and playing good, solid football. And that's the last thing a coach develops, is managing the game itself.
I never heard that expression in football. You hear it all the time in baseball, running a game, managing a game. But it's no different in this sport. You have to be thinking ahead. Here goes Humphrey. Caught in the backfield. Guess who?
Howie Long is clearly the best man in the game today on defense. And there are others, we could argue, some defensive backs, or Ronnie Lott, people like that. But this man, it just destroys things up and down the line of scrimmage. And he not only takes on the ball carrier, but he destroys the blocking pattern. So if other people are blocking another Raider defender, Howie can take their legs out from under them. He just clears the game out. I didn't think he'd play this well again, Dick. I thought maybe his best days were behind him. This is as good as he's ever played.
29 years of age, 5 times a Pro Bowler. 2nd and 11. Screen to Humphrey. Good blocking. And he has a first down out to the 47-yard line as Elway had to throw around a rush from Greg Townsend.
Well, the middle screen has been a favorite years ago with Dallas and Staubach throwing it. But now Denver has taken up and just calling it the right time. And what you're going to see is these linemen will temporarily block, then just give a little bit of ground as Elway gives a lot himself. Then the ball's going to be screened to the inside. You see them just give a little ground. There's the throw, and there are the blockers.
And Humphrey does the rest. First down at the 46. Big Orson Mobley in motion. Elway to the sidelines for short yardage. And that ball got to Vance Johnson just in time before Terry McDaniel met him with a tackle. So the game allowing forward progress about 5 yards.
Well, again, Elway rifling the ball to the sideline for just a 5-yard gain, but that's 5 yards. It's not an incomplete pass, and this is what he's able to do. So far today, I'm really impressed with Denver's methodical approach to taking this great defense apart, and they've just managed to get their first downs and control the clock and the ball.
2:40 remaining in the third quarter. Denver 10, the Raiders 6. Scrambles and has a first down at the Raider 38-yard line. And Howie Long again downfield 15 yards, caught him from behind.
It was a foot race between Howie Long and Elway. Elway will come up the field in pass rush. He'll way to our left of our screen. Now Elway runs and out comes Long behind everybody to try to make a play.
He had to fight through the official and still got a big mitt on Elway. Did Long. Talked about his thighs. When he goes to buy his shirts, neck size is 20.
And people would think, well, he was built up with weights and even conceivably steroids, but it's, as you pointed out, it's in his family. He has a 7-foot relative, a 6'8" dad, mom and dad, everybody, big people. He was obviously well proportioned.
Boy, look, and he's got a great sense of humor. He was on Bobby Bether. Don't take any phone calls from him. He's not real happy with Bobby and Ralph Wiley, and he wants to trade him Go-Go, the equipment manager, for 3 guys from NFL Live. Second down, and 8. Downfield, almost intercepted, intended for Humphrey, and thrown a little too long, and diving in was Eddie Anderson, who leads the Raiders in interceptions with 5. Stops the clock with 1:03 remaining in the third.
Well, Art Shell has brought this intensity back to the Raiders in a philosophy and an approach to the game through his experiences. You know, Jerry Robinson reminded us the players call him E.F. Hutton. He's very quiet. Everybody stops and listens.
Illegal contact, number 36 defense, first down.
So the penalty of 5 yards, but a first down against Terry McDaniel, the 24-year-old cornerback from Saginaw, Michigan. Now we're going to have a tribute. My mother happens to live up in that area. I had a radio job at WSAM in Saginaw way back before World War I. And she's going to like the show at 7 o'clock Eastern Time tonight about the mother of Isaiah Thomas. Hope you'll stay. Give you a little more information about that. Down the middle. Oh, my. Almost a one-handed catch by Clarence Kay. And Elway again tastes the thrust of that rush from the Raider defensive line.
He's got people working up the field, up inside. The Raiders have big, awesome people pushing upfield. That's their history. From Matusat to all kinds of men, row these big, powerful men that push the blocker back into the quarterback and then finally come off the blocker and make the sack. But they disrupt the passing game with that strength of bull rushing through people.
Last minute, third quarter draw, and it's wide open for Humphrey. And does he take a lick from Eddie Anderson and Mike Harden? But he jumps up and he's close to another first down as they spot it right at the 22-yard line. And that's going to move Humphrey up over the 900 mark for the year. Let's just listen to the sound of the game.
Oh, I heard that. Well, the Raiders are jumping into an even defense. That means the center's uncovered. Golick moves over a guard, and that's their pass rush defense. And when they're in it, Denver's running the ball and splitting those pass rushers. It's happened 4 or 5 times today. You see those big plays by Humphrey when the Raiders shift into an even front and pass rush.
And Mike Shanahan, knowing that that has been a Raider system while he was coaching here, and apparently they're still using it, and the Raiders taking it, or the Broncos taking advantage with the audibles. Now give that to me again. If Golick is over the center, they're going to play run.
They're playing run right now. You see if Golick backed off the center, and he's reading the guards in the center.
Humphrey already over 100 yards, but doesn't get anything there as Lyndon King infiltrates, and Eddie Anderson came up from the secondary.
The even defense, Golick playing off the ball, is basically a run defense. You'll see Golick here off the ball. These people are going to read the blockers all across the front, then pursue laterally, and that's just what you'll get out of them on this play. Reading the blocker, and along the line of scrimmage, here they come. With Long coming first, excellent support from the outside.
And Howie Long punctuating another play with that great tackle. As you look up into the California blue, I know that those of you who are suffering through Ahmad Rashad's image in that overcoat told the story back in the Midwest. Here, 100 degrees warmer, accounting for chill factor. There's that shovel pass. I like to work that with Sammy Winder in the lineup, and it is Winder. And that was really shovel. That was, instead of a little short toss, about a 5-yard little push shot.
Well, the Raiders are looking for this and trying to read the blocking, and you're going to get a block down, people coming up the field, and as they break in, enough people see it and read it that there's just too much traffic inside, and of course we get a good clean tackle. Most likely, that I don't see the number, that was probably Benson coming from the backside.
Gain of 3, 3rd and 7. We're starting the 4th quarter. The Broncos leading 10-6. But I don't think he made it. He's down to about the 13 where his knee went down. Mike Wise and Jerry Robinson got to him, and out comes the field goal unit as he's a yard shy. David Treadwell, who kicked one from 34 yards earlier. I want to correct something. We had Jager at 45. Jeff Jager has kicked one 52 yards earlier in the year, and today has field goals of 46 and 37. But now it's Denver trying to get back on top by 7. The miss by Treadwell was from 42 yards, a low kick that appeared to be partially blocked. And a flag, and they've run out of time on the 45-second clock for the second time.
Delay of game, offense.
Dan Reeves reacting.
Oh, gee. A little bit of rage there. I'm not sure who he might be upset getting into the game late with that unit, or maybe the clock starting at a different time than he thought it should have. Whatever.
Now it's a 35-yard attempt with Gary Kubiak holding. And Treadwell, who was an academic All-America at Clemson University, drills it, and it's back to a 7-point game. And if you think because they've clinched the AFC West, he's not into it, oh my. We'll be back after these messages from your local station.
Go for 2 in a row. Sports Final Edition tonight at 11:30.
As the playoff picture solidifies with the finals from earlier, Cincinnati, after a midseason struggle, back in the thick of things in Houston. The leader now in the Central. The kick comes down to Stephon Adams of the Raiders to the 20, 25. Good piece of running. And a good open field tackle by Randy Robbins, just as Adams had extricated himself, and down goes a flag. It's going to be against the Broncos, a personal foul, and that'll add 15 yards.
Personal foul.
Look at the effort he's making. Good tackle down the field. Good tackle. Couldn't see it.
You saw.
Oh, I see. He pulled the leg after the tackle.
So that costs Robbins and Denver 15. Remember, Dennis Smith is not playing today. He has a groin injury, and the all-pro performer who has had a great season, they want to rest that groin, and Robbins replacing him at safety.
This is a well-officiated game at this point because they're not letting anything get out of hand. Anything they see along those lines, they call.
Kerry Porter is at Bo Jackson, and Mecklenburg makes the tackle. Appeared to be Kerry Porter, number 31, and he may have fumbled. And no, it was Bo Jackson. Denver says they have the ball, but it's marked for the Raiders, 2nd and 9.
Well, Tom Walsh, the offensive quarterback coach, the coordinator, is calling these plays now. It's somewhat new to Tom. He's very, very bright, very good student of the game, but he is rather new at play calling. I can't say that it's bad, but they certainly need things.
Ron Holmes makes it 7 sacks in 7 games as he shoots through untouched. Boy, what a pick. They got Holmes from Tampa Bay for a number 4. His favorite player was Leroy Selman, the great Buccaneer, and that was the kind of move that Selman used to show.
Holmes will be on our right here coming up the field. We can't quite see him in this framing, but he's up the field unblocked. No one blocked him, so he's naturally going to make a sack. There had to be a breakdown in their pass protection rules because he was just in a normal defensive end position. And most often the tackle in front of him will block him. No effort to block him that time.
So it's 3rd down and 20. Berline flushed out of the pocket.
Well, he can't move to his left.
And Mecklenburg has the sack this time.
He can't move to his left with that knee. He can't get away from people.
Mecklenburg with 7.5 sacks now on the year, and Holmes is right behind.
Mecklenburg's running a line stunt up inside, being held pretty obviously. Now he just, in that relentless way he plays the game, just stays with the play.
So on 4th down and 30, Jeff Gossett will punt for the 3rd time. Vance Johnson back at the 33. Beautiful kick. Hanging up there to the 24. Johnson is down at the 30, taking no chances. Timeout. 11:18 left in the 4th quarter. Your picture, the pointed building. My kids used to call that the Superman building. Downtown Los Angeles. What a day.
What a day here.
But not so hot for the Raiders at this point. They trail by 7. And here comes that man, Humphrey. He's over 100 yards, and he's over 900 for the season, is Humphrey, who, despite missing a senior year, set Alabama rushing records over 3,700 yards and 45 touchdowns. He had a broken foot, hip bone graft, and then pinned.
This Dick looks like Marcus Allen, his rookie year. It really does. Working between people, keeping his pads down just before contact, falling forward. Same kinds of abilities and mentality.
Just you can see him how he gives with the punch, the tackling punch. Reacts Elway on a play action to Orson Mobley, who has pounded at the 40, close to a 1st down. Benson and Anderson made the hit. Yeah, it's interesting as you watched Humphrey in the play before. It's just like a good fighter, able to absorb, roll with the punches, that almost anticipating the hit. He uses the tackling power almost to knock himself forward for a couple, 3 yards.
Right, just great instincts, and then a lot of exposure at Alabama and throughout his life at running with the ball. There's skills involved with it. And of course he has great athletic ability.
It's short by inches. 3rd down, Denver. As we check other scores. Cincinnati 21-0. Houston now in 1st. Miami loses again. Kansas City's in the thick of things. New England troublesome again. They spoil the Colts fun. Philadelphia's beaten the Giants twice. Detroit has another win. The Rams had to rally. San Francisco goes 11-2. Jets still tied with San Diego down south, and Washington has opened a 2-touchdown lead at Phoenix. Here it's Denver 13, the Raiders 6, 3rd and inches at the 40. Humphrey over the top for the 1st down at the 42, and that's another likeness to Marcus Allen. Reeves now has a new series of downs.
Well, Reeves is the complete football coach at this point in his career. He handles all facets of the game beautifully, calling the plays. Humphrey knows just when to go over the top. It's a rehearsed play, short yardage. I'm sure there's a call involved with him thinking of going over the top to get the first down.
25 times now that Humphrey's carried today, 111 yards.
That was his goal in talking with him before the game. 25 carries, 100 yards. He'll get more.
And gave a good outside move, cut back inside for about 5 yards. Dan Reeves, and part of the Tom Landry coaching tree, the assistants under Landry who have succeeded. Mike Ditka, Raymond Berry, Dan Reeves, Gene Stallings, 4 head coaches in the National Football League at the start of this year, disciples of the great Dallas coach Tom Landry. And Reeves certainly carries on in the tradition. You can see a lot of Landry in him.
Well, there are ways to do things, a method to doing things. And there's a Landry method that had grown through so many years.
2nd down and 5. Humphrey again. He's got to be getting tired. And that'll make you more weary when you take a hit like that from Tom Benson. Well, there's going to be a day, and I know you won't talk about it, so I will, Bill Walsh, where there'll be disciples of Walsh. You already have 2 that are head coaches, Sam Weich in Cincinnati, George Seifert, who replaced you in San Francisco. They talked about Mike Holmgren on NFL Live. Do you think he's a head coach soon?
If Mike chooses, I think he can be a head coach this year. And another person we haven't mentioned, of course, is Denny Green at Stanford. Denny's one of the brightest people in the game today.
3rd down and 5. Flags down. Elway throws, incomplete. He's whipped that one sidearm on the run. Dennis Price, just activated yesterday, made the defensive play. Now let's check the flag. Against Denver. So the Raiders have held. Here comes Horan and the punting team. Horan had a horrendous moment the last time he tried to kick when that snap appeared to be
number 76 offense, penalty decline, 4th down.
Over his head, and he struggled to get the kick away, not blocked for 19 yards, and that set up a Raider field goal. Stephon Adams looking into the setting sun at the 10.
Well, it's time for the Raiders to get it going right now. This next drive is going to have to get it done. I don't know if there'll be a team that can win in the last minute or 2 with Berline quarterbacking.
Fair catch at the 8-yard line. Timeout. 8:15 to go, and the Raiders need a touchdown to tie. You see the domination of the Denver defense in the second half, and we hope you'll be with us next weekend for NBC's coverage of the NFL. Join the guys at 12:30 for NFL Live. We had a chance to watch it out here in the morning in Los Angeles. Boy, what a fast-moving show full of information.
I think that Ohio football piece was just one of the best I've ever seen. Covered a lot of the folklore related to the game of football, especially, obviously, the state of Hawaii.
Berline up the middle. And they're going to call it incomplete. No possession. Willie Gault took quite a hit from Wyman Henderson. Former track star sprinter Willie Gault.
Well, this was an excellent call. Backed up with a deep over pattern. Well thrown. Safety just about getting there. Should have been caught by Willie Gault. No question about it. He took his eye off it just a little bit, thought he had it, never secured it. That could have been the key play of the game because they have to get it done in this drive.
But that tackler looked too big to be Henderson. That was Steve Atwater, the brilliant rookie safety from Arkansas, who made the hit. And they may be reviewing it. This is that review posture. Does he get both feet down in possession? Let's check it. All right, in the air. He's got the ball. Appears to be in possession. 1.
I think he had it, Dick.
And if he did, then it would be ruled a fumble recovered by the Raiders.
He had that ball when he came down. Clear possession of it.
Barry Seaman and his officiating crew waiting patiently for the word from upstairs. Dave Kamansky.
Review of instant replay. The play stands. Second down.
Wow.
Well, there was not irrefutable evidence to overturn the decision as Wade Phillips.
You know, that irrefutable evidence, a smoking gun, and they're not quite sure who fired it. Gee, if he didn't catch that ball, I can't believe it.
On 2nd and 10, this is Bo Jackson territory inside his own 10, but it's Berline throwing underneath to Steve Smith, who draws a crowd, and the first guy through the door was Mecklenburg.
Good call by Tom Walsh from upstairs. The last 2 calls have been good ones. Now here's that substitution that's almost automatic. When the Raiders substitute on 3rd down, in go the Bronco defensive backs primarily.
25 Corrington and 36 veteran Mark Haynes. 3rd down and 4. To Fernandez, and a first down at the 34.
Now that was a beautifully executed play by everyone. The pass protectors, the short receiver holding a corner up, and the splitting of a zone. It was a beautiful job of doing it. Now you see a release inside of a zoning corner. Now there's a hole in the defense right there, and the ball's beautifully timed. Now that ball was thrown before the break outside. So it was just a beautiful job by Fernandez looking for a ball rather than anything else, because the ball was halfway there when he turned.
3rd catch for Mervyn Fernandez gives him 40 for the year, the leading receiver. And this one deep down the middle, the tight end there. He could go all the way. Touchdown, Raiders. A 67-yard pass and run to first-year tight end Mike Dial from Texas A&I. And he did indeed dial long distance, his 2nd touchdown reception. And Berline made the throw, split the deep center defense, and then Dial knocked off 2 tacklers for the score. As impassive Art Shell looks on at the extra point to tie. It is 13-13.
There's a throw down the middle, 2 rotating safeties, an excellent job down the field by Dial. Beautiful job. Now Munford should have had coverage on Dial, and he lost him. He lost him coming down the field.
And to the delight of his quarterback, we're even with 7 to go. Texas-bred Mike Dial, whose idols were Roger Staubach and Drew Pearson, gets the Raiders even. Ken Bell at the 7. Flag down, and so is Bell at the 17. Let's go back and take another look at the touchdown play.
In this, the Denver secondary is going to play 2 short people and 2 deep, so these receivers will hold both safeties to the outside. Meanwhile, Munford is expected to cover Dial right down the middle, and he loses a step and gets behind him. Then it's a beautiful throw by Berline right up over the top. Now you'll see Munford trying to stay with Dial. He loses him. Now this is excellent job by Dial here. Handles 2 tacklers, spins off, and puts the Raiders right back in the game. That's what they needed, 1 big play.
Atwater and Robbins, the 2 safeties, couldn't stop Dial, who says hello to Mom and Dad back in Texas, and offsetting penalties. They'll re-kick this one, and that's to the benefit of Denver. That, by the way, is the longest completion for Berline as he talks it over with Dial all year. Prior to that 67-yard play, 43 yards was his longest throw against San Diego. Right now, we're at 13 all with 6:57 to go. Beautiful kick. Bell again. Oh, and he is rung up at the 21. Kerry Porter made the tackle. This has been a series not only where there's been a lot of high emotions, they don't like each other, but they play tough and they play even. 4 of the last 10 meetings going into overtime. The Raiders 3-1. Another fact is that since the 16-game format, whenever a team has won the first game in the series, that team has also won the second, and Denver was victorious in their first meeting in Mile High. We'll see what happens now. 13 all.
Well, Kerry Porter just made that tackle. He made the tackle on the previous punt and on that kickoff. Kerry Porter, 31, Washington State, doing a great job on special teams.
Elway underneath. And it's Humphrey, who has been his all-purpose back, getting good yardage. Not quite enough for a first down before Tom Benson makes the tackle. And this, the largest crowd of the entire NFL season in Los Angeles, over 80,000. And they're really trying to help the Raiders, however long the Raiders stay in Los Angeles.
I can't believe, it'd be hard to believe them leaving when you see 80,000 people, and their record is 6-6. I think they have a lot of feeling for Art Shell. For how the Raiders are playing right now.
2nd and 4. Too much time. No, they may be called against Elway. He pulled back before the snap was made.
False start prior to the snap. Number 66 offense, still second down.
Boy, Dan Reeves, for a man who has already coached his team into the playoffs, I've never seen him battle any harder along the sidelines than he has today. He wasn't kidding when he said he doesn't like the Raiders and never has.
Well, he senses that he's going to have a great season, and every game now counts. He can see that Super Bowl trophy.
Good protection for Elway. And is it complete? No, he juggled it and did not have control. Vance Johnson. Eddie Anderson there defensively for the Raiders. It's 3rd and 8.
Well, if there were 2 quarterbacks that can pull a team out, Montana naturally would be the one I'd think of first. But John Elway, how many times has he done it? In conference championship games, we saw him do it against Kansas City, having an average day, then 3 big plays to win it. And this is where Elway's at his best.
You saw Reeves show the 4 fingers, meaning 4 wide receivers. Then Lyndon King offer the defensive signal to bring in the extra defensive backs. They like to blitz a corner occasionally in this set. Not this time. Flags are down. Could not hear the whistle with the noise of this huge crowd.
You know, have you noted the noise, Dick? I mean, it's from the standpoint of, can you think historically? I haven't seen this kind of noise and anticipation from a crowd, enthusiasm, for years.
Well, not in Los Angeles, where they're infamous for their hand clapping and not their cheering. There isn't. Even the years that I did the Rams games, 12 years, the players would complain week after week, year after year. We don't have a home crowd advantage. Our home field, we know the turf, but we don't have a home crowd advantage.
Well, the Raiders have got it today. I've never seen anything like this. And teams I've been with have played here many, many times.
Complete to Natil, and he has a first down to the 38-yard line. And that's where Elway's arm. That field is 160 feet wide, 53 1/3 yards, and Elway's a guy who can fire to both sidelines. A lot of quarterbacks can't make this throw.
I don't think there's another one that can do it other than maybe Cunningham. Now what happens, the Raiders keep dropping when Elway holds the ball. So the Raider defenders in the zone defense keep giving ground and give too much ground.
Ball fumbled after Natil left the field of play. 5 minutes to go. 13-13. Humphrey to the 41-yard line. he's paying for the yards now as he gets 3 more. Lionel Washington, number 48, an Ahmad Rashad lookalike, and Greg Townsend made the tackle.
Well, this is the stage of the game. As it wears on, the defense becomes more fatigued than the offense as far as the linemen are concerned. The pass rusher gives more energy, puts out more energy each play than the offensive player. I'm talking with Lanier before the game. He said the fourth quarter, the offensive tackles tend to have an advantage over the pass rushers.
Time out, Elway, and that won't please Reeves. First timeout of 3 in the second half spent by the Broncos. The game even, time running out. 4:23 to go. And before that last play, we were zeroing in on Howie Long before the snap, making sure his teammates are ready. There's the guy we want, 26, Humphrey. Keep your eye on him.
Well, at this point, Elway gains an advantage. The defenders slow down through a certain amount of fatigue, and he can get outside the pass rush and make his big plays. Time and time again in his career, he's done it late in the game because the defenders tend to slow a little bit without realizing it, and he can make his plays off those fatiguing defenders.
Elway, who grew up watching the Rams here in Los Angeles, played his high school ball over in the San Fernando Valley at Granada Hills. Second down and 7. 9-man front. Here comes Benson. Elway scrambling and throwing incomplete, and wide open was Kay. Lyndon King covering Kay, was down on the ground, but under pressure, Elway unable to get the ball to his tight end.
Well, the Raiders took a chance. They brought people. They brought their nickel linebacker, Benson, on the outside. You see people stunning up inside. There's Davis. Here's Robinson. They brought their people, and they almost lost a big one there because the defender fell. And had that been a completed pass, it would have gone all the way.
4:18 to go. Big play. 3rd down and 7. Complete. What a catch by Michael Young. Young, one of the extra wide receivers who played here at UCLA, and he's come through with some big catches all year on 3rd down. That's his 15th catch of the season, and what a clutch play. First down at the 50.
Dick, a rocket shot from Elway. I can't believe how he can drill that ball accurately. Now watch the ball carry to Young. It comes right up into his pads right there. Now that's the difference between Elway and virtually every other man that's played the game.
Washington with good coverage. Young gets it anyway. First down at the 50. Underneath, Natil. And he may have another first down as he's to the 40-yard line. You know, back to Michael Young. He was acquired a Plan B free agent from the Rams. They're starting to talk about Young the way they gloried in the plays of Steve Watson. Watson, who for so many years had the big bomb, was so deceptive in his speed and his great style and getting open. And Young says, well, I'm not quite there yet, but give me a chance to play more. And they are, and he's delivering. The game is tied even at 13. Of course it is even if it's tied. But
here he is outside again.
Flags down and incomplete to Mark Jackson. McDaniel on the coverage.
And Mark Jackson was open. He could have scored on that play.
Holding.
Oh.
Raiders. That's an automatic first down at the 35-yard line. Terry McDaniel, 36, covering Jackson.
Oh, he has to tackle him. He trips and slides on the surface. He only has one hope: tackle him and hope somebody doesn't see it.
Well, they won't have to review that one. Obviously, you don't review penalties on instant replay.
Well, our shell sure shows a lot of composure. I'm sure there's a lot going on internally.
Holding prior to the pass, number 36 defense. First down.
But McDaniel there, rather than risk a touchdown, did what he had to, and the 5 yards is simple enough.
But again, Elway got outside the fatiguing pass rush. He can do that anytime he wants now unless they blitz. They're looking for the field goal, Dick. They're just going to get it down as far as they can and go for the long field goal, and they've got the guy that can do it.
And the Raiders, recognizing that the Broncos are in no hurry to stop that clock, use a timeout themselves. So each team has 2 timeouts remaining. Treadwell, the place kicker for the Broncos, 2 for 3, had one either blocked or close to it as he kicked it low to start the game. 2 for 3, though, on the afternoon. 2nd down and 8.
They only need about 5 yards for a long field goal.
Elway under a blitz. He has to throw it in a hurry, and it's short. Steve Sewell and Ricky Teal were over there.
Well, the Raiders got good push-up inside on Elway. He wanted to time a throw to the outside, but the push coming from the outside, he couldn't really get a time pass off on a outbreaking pattern, and that's really all he wanted. You can see that push and the blitz coming up inside. He's leaning away there as he throws the ball.
And Howie Long was the man that was tackled as he was getting to Elway.
Now look for a run right here, or even the shovel pass. They're looking for the shovel pass or a trap, because all they need is 5 yards to get that field goal.
10 men on the line of scrimmage for the Raiders.
Here's a screen to the outside.
Winder, but it was well read by Scott Davis, and Winder knocked out of bounds at the 36-yard line. A tough decision now for Reeves. A field goal will be of over 50 yards, and Treadwell has not shown that kind of leg this year. He's hit one from 46. He's tried one of over 50, 54, and missed that one. So he's going to stay on the sidelines, and the punting team comes on.
Well, that was the critical play thus far of the day, because all Reeves wanted was 5 yards off that screen pass to the outside, and the Raider lineman read it. So they've scouted this offense well. The shovel pass, the trap, the screen, in those situations.
And we have our 2-minute timeout, 13 aside. Welcome back. The Raiders are about to get the ball with 2 minutes to go deep in their own end. We've searched the entire Coliseum, and we found one guy that has a little experience in what do you do from your own end, 2 minutes to go. What do you think?
It's all a blur to me now. I can't remember. But I do know this, that the Raiders have to be careful at this point. They don't need a turnover. They've got to get a first down sort of the legitimate way before they go for the end zone, because any turnover now, and they'll get that long field goal against them.
Kind of like the manager going out to talk to his pitcher with the bases loaded, saying, don't walk him, but don't give him anything to hit.
Makes sense to me.
So it's the Raiders who get the ball now, as Horan apparently will punt with the ball at the Los Angeles 36-yard line. Art Shell has seen his young quarterback Steve Berline hit tight end Mike Dial 67 yards here in the fourth quarter to tie the game at 13. Horan, one of the very best punters in the league, in dropping it down inside the 10. In fact, counting today, he has 20 inside the 20.
Even when the Raiders have the ball now, Dick, they've got to play defensive football, because naturally Denver will call timeouts and try to get a punt and get the ball back around the 50.
That one's going to go into the end zone, it appears.
Well, that helps.
So that one amounts to a 16-yard punt net. Horan, who usually is very good in that situation, a little disappointed with himself. So
well,
from the 20.
That was really critical, because any kind of an out-of-bounds kick inside the 20, Denver takes his time, uses its timeouts, gets a punt, gets the ball around the 51 play by Elway, and they've got 3 points. So now the Raiders have got to be very careful, almost playing defensively at this point, at least until they get 1 or 2 first downs, sort of the tough way, before they go down the field with the ball.
Here comes Berline with Bo Jackson. Jackson, playing with a sore leg, has not been the brilliant runner that we might have expected, nor has he the last 3 games. But you never know. There's his wife, Linda. And it's Bo. Stopped after a yard or 2 by Simon Fletcher. Greg Cragen and Carl Mecklenburg. Linda watching the play, leaning forward as she sees her husband get the ball, and there have been better.
Well, talk about managing a game, fumbling at this point. In recent weeks, we've seen teams lose right at this point by not managing the game well. Players knowing a fumble or a sack or anything like that can be devastating.
There's a man Dial down the middle, and he was open again, and Berline misses. 3rd and 9. So 1:13 left, Bill. Should they not make the first down yardage here, then Denver could spend a timeout and indeed would have some time and pretty good field position.
Well, that's right. Elway getting outside with everybody tiring and throwing one complete pass, kicking a field goal. Right here, I would run the ball and force Denver to use a timeout. Get as much off that clock as you can right here. No incomplete pass.
Chased by Fletcher, and it is almost intercepted, and a flag goes down. And they might have had a lineman downfield. Mervyn Fernandez, the intended receiver. No, it's against the Raiders for a push, and undoubtedly declined by Denver to bring up 4th down.
Interference, number 84.
See, that play took 7 seconds, Dick. 7 seconds, and the Raiders stopped the ball, the clock themselves. They didn't force Denver to use a timeout.
So Denver has its 2 timeouts still in the bank, and now Jeff Gossett will try to deliver a big kick. He had a 52-yarder the last time. Ricky Nattiel now is the deep return man at the 36. It's a good kick.
Great kick.
Nattiel at the 29. 40, 50, could go all the way. Vance Mueller gets him down at the 34-yard line, and only the speed of Mueller, who was a Division II national sprinter on a title team, saved a touchdown. 38 yards for Nattiel.
Well, it's again handling this situations as a team and as a coach. It really takes years. Denver's been through it. The same coach, the same program. These people know just what they want to do. Now, again, you see the speed right here of Mueller barely being able to catch his man. But all they need now is about 5 or 6 yards for that long field goal.
52 seconds to go and 2 timeouts remaining. The draw to Humphrey. And he runs into a pile of silver and black. We might point out that for the Raiders, they were the best in the league on punt coverage prior to today, and they give up a big return there of 32 yards. Timeout. 40 seconds remain. $64,000 when the Raiders first arrived here from the Bay Area. Then last year, 57 the average attendance. This year down to 47 with all the talk the Raiders aren't going to be here anyway next season. Today, however, they sold 90,016 tickets. 87,560 arrived. Game was blacked out in the Los Angeles area. And it's 13-all as they root for the Raiders, who need a win to stay in the serious playoff position.
Look for a run just to get the ball. No, they're going to throw the ball.
Elway to the sideline. Intercepted. Intercepted. And finally dragged down is Lionel Washington at the 45-yard line. Oh, my. Seconds to go. And Elway, this could very easily have been a touchdown for Washington. Mark Jackson, in a wrestling match, saved a touchdown.
Well, I can't agree with that call, Dick. I'm sorry. As great admiration I have for Dan Reeves as a brilliant coach, but why do that one? They could run for 2 downs to run for yards, use their timeout, and kick a long field goal. I'm sure he wishes he had that one back.
30 seconds, and we have overtime, but Steve Berline needs about 30 yards, and they can kick a field goal.
Be careful, Steve.
Throws long, almost intercepted by Tyrone Braxton. Intended for Mike Alexander.
The key now is to go for the overtime. Why fight it?
And that may be the message just shouted in to Berline. Ball at the 45 of Los Angeles. 24 seconds to go. The Raiders have 2 timeouts left.
That's where the championship experience comes in. That's why you did see the San Francisco team, the Raiders of the 70s, and those great teams handle these situations.
3 wide receivers, Fernandez, Alexander, and Galt. Shotgun. And Berline, nifty footwork to get free and throw long for Alexander. Incomplete. Oh, my. Steve Atwater, 27, covering Alexander as they went for the bundle and came close. Fans booing wanted interference, but it appeared to be a good play by the rookie Atwater.
Well, there was hope right here. A lot of hope, but they're all going for the ball.
16 seconds. There's Atwater, the smiling assassin. Boy, Reeves said when they knew they were going to go for a defensive back in the first round, so they brought in the top 4 or 5 defensive backs last year as seniors and looked for character, and he said, here's the guy, Atwater. He's a leader, and so he has been. On 3rd down, Berline again going long. Is he in bounds? No catch. No catch. He was out of bounds when he came down, and he was open. Fernandez, as he received the ball, had 1 foot out of bounds. No problem with that call.
Wade Phillips is quaking there. He cannot believe it. He had a 2-deep defense, knowing the Raiders were going to go down the field for the ball. And the safety didn't get near the receiver.
Oh, it's 4th down, 8 seconds to go. Do you go after the punter here?
Might as well. I don't think you can return it far enough, even with a great return. But a block punt would give you your field goal.
And even if you ran into the kicker, they still wouldn't be in field goal range.
Here they come.
Gossett. And it is in the end zone for the touchback, but the time runs out and we have overtime. So for the 5th time in the last 11 games, Denver and the Raiders go an extra panel. Dick Enberg with Bill Walsh, and now the 2 coaches, Art Shell of the Raiders and Dan Reeves of the Broncos, will watch the coin toss. Take us through this. Did you always hope you'd win the toss here?
Well, you would. In a day like this, naturally you'd want the toss. A strong wind, naturally you'd want the wind. We lost a game to the Broncos a year ago because of the wind. They got the wind, they got the toss, they got the wind, they got the game. But here it's a beautiful day. You want the ball.
So both teams then looking to get that ball first, although...
Again, Denver is a visiting team. Who will call the toss this time? Number 58, please call it while it is in the air. Heads is called. It is heads.
So they went to the free agent from New Hampshire, Scott Curtis, and he called it right. Denver gets it first.
Best of luck.
And we'll return to the Coliseum in Los Angeles after these messages from your local station. Thank you, Bob. Here it's 13-all as Jager gets ready to kick it to Denver. As you look at Vance Mueller, he may have saved the game with that tackle of Ricky Nattiel on the punt return. His wife's a police officer, and he arrested Denver's chance to win it. Good kick. Bell on the sidelines at the 5. Ken Bell with flags down at the 18. So that's what you want from your defense. stop that return team inside their 20 and maybe get a penalty too. Dan Land, who just was activated this past couple of weeks, made the tackle, and so the Broncos will start perhaps inside their 10. Here's the look at the time of over 40 minutes for the Broncos. 2 times the possession time of the Raiders, and thus the yardage advantage to Denver. All the statistics, 24-8 in first downs, and still only 13 all.
Just that one big play against that double rotation by Dial put him on the map. But in this situation, field position is obviously vital. Because a field goal wins the game.
A safety wins the game.
Safety wins the game. So just get the ball around the 50-yard line, make a first down, and you've got a chance to win it right there. So Denver's really in a hole in an overtime situation.
From the 9-yard line, Elway goes to his tight end Mobley. Not much. Lionel Washington, who made the big steal when the Broncos appeared to be in position to kick a field goal near the end of regulation, makes the tackle. That's a mismatch. Washington at 185 against the 260-pound Mobley, the tight end.
The Raiders were in the ideal coverage there. They called the right coverage because Washington was just sitting out in the flat waiting for a receiver to come to him, and there came Mobley right to him.
A gain of 5.5, so it's 2nd and a long 4. Crowd of over 87,000, by far the largest in the league all season. They've seen a dandy game dramatically downfield. It's complete to Mobley, and a first down at the 35. Mike Harden, the tackler.
Excellent call. The Raiders were in a defense to stop the run against that formation. The safety was forward. They threw the pattern right down in the seam behind the safety man. They're going to play fake here. Then Mobley is going to go up and down to the corner. You see the Raiders running back, fooled on the play and getting there too late.
Mobley, who played at Salem College in West Virginia. He's had 5 grabs today. He's way out to the left. Elway now with some breathing room at the 35. Little dump off to Humphrey. No one near Humphrey. And he has another first down at the 47 of Denver. Greg Townsend caught him from behind.
Well, Dick, by the nature of the defense right now, the Raider linebackers are getting too much depth. There was all kind of room that time because they have just 2 safeties deep. The linebackers have to compensate. A lot of room in front of those linebackers. There's Jerry Robinson probably looking over the sideline saying, don't call that defense again.
Did you ever have that look from one of your defensive captains, Jack Reynolds, Hacksaw, ever look at you like that?
I just had all the fans looking at me like that.
It's Humphrey, and you saw his numbers. Tripped up by Howie Long. He had his big left arm out there to hook him. And Long, you know, if you went to a museum 200 years from now and said, here's a picture or a sculpture of a football player, Long wouldn't be a bad subject. Well,
Long is so strong. And Doug Weidel, bless his heart, is doing everything he can. But Long is just too strong for him. With a shoulder throw, he just nudged him right off balance. And Reeves says Weidel is a great run blocker. Dan Reeves said that before the game. So that shows you the dimension of Howie Long.
3 minutes into overtime. Blitz picked up well. Elway. Oh, my. Out of the hands of Vance Johnson, and Lionel Washington was there. 3rd and 8.
Well, here come the wide receivers for Denver. So they're going to their pure pass formation. Now, this is how they beat, if you remember, Kansas City with that shovel pass a few weeks ago. I'm sure the Raiders are in the huddle saying, look out for the shovel pass.
Scott Davis and Bob Gully come out as the Raiders send in Carter and Price, 2 extra defensive backs. And now it'll be the Raiders' turn.
Well, it's a battle of wills between both teams, both organizations, both coaches.
Thomas Benson was the man who blitzed and got to Elway first. Horan kicking. Stephon Adams back at the Raider 20. And Horan sends a high short kick. Fair catch at the 29. So now Los Angeles will have his opportunity to win an opportunity in overtime. 13-13. To the 31-yard line, and Mark Mumford along with Wyman Henderson making a solid hit.
Well, there's plenty of time, and you don't want a holding penalty. Obviously, a turnover costs you the ball game, so you've got to be rather conservative here. If they can just get a first down out of this, even before they punt, they start working field position on the Broncos.
Bo Jackson with 41 yards today. Bobby Humphrey of the Denver Broncos 123, and you see Elway working on that elbow as he was hit on the blitz. Berline, plenty of time down the middle to Dial. Dial almost breaking free again. It's to the 43-yard line.
Dial's a clutch player, no question about it. It was an excellent pass pattern because what they did was bring the linebackers forward with a man in motion and then put Dial in behind him. You'll see a man in motion coming short, holding these linebackers forward. Then you'll see Dial up the field in behind him in the hole. Well done all the way. There's Dial pushing up behind. Here's a man in motion holding those linebackers. Big hole in the defense. Very well executed.
119 yards for Dial on 3 catches, one a 67-yard touchdown. Now it's Bo's turn, and they're going for the ball. You saw Ron Holmes on the outside as Jackson was straightened, trying to rip the ball free unsuccessfully.
Well, this is the first time in 60-some minutes here, 70 minutes, that the Raiders have had any advantage in this game. Right now, for the first time, they have field position with a score tied. They've battled uphill all the way.
9.5 minutes to go. Second down and 7.
Art Shell, quiet but strong. They all respect him and play for him.
Berline to the tight end again, and Dial is to the 23.
You know, they've said the tight end is out of football. They've run and shoot people and all of these others that go to these wide receiver formations. But here's the great use of a tight end in the game of football. Now Dial catches what they call a flag pattern to the corner, and they split a zone with it, and the big body coming down with the ball is so much different than the smaller athlete as a wide receiver, so he can take the punishment on the catch. This is this is the kind of football I like to coach, and I guess I learned a lot of it from the Raiders.
33-yard average for Dial on those 4 catches. Now it's Steve Smith. Smith to the 9. Al Davis, too nervous to sit down. Has it first and goal inside the 10.
Last week, Smith made big plays. Great blocking. Excellent blocking here to the outside. Great job by Bruce Wilkerson. Turned his man beautifully. And Steve Smith just broke off that block. Now it's just a matter of getting in the middle of the field. Or are they going to do it now? Just kick a field goal and get it over with.
Injured Bronco on the play. They're still attending to Steve Atwater.
If need be, they can put the ball in the middle of the field and then kick.
Boy, those Raiders know how important it is. Even Bo Jackson out there encouraging the crowd in its support. And here it is. Jeff Jager will try to win it right now. And maybe if he's good, from about 27 yards. This big crowd will have been treated to not only a great game between two outstanding teams, but a home win. Jeff Gossett will hold, and the Broncos will let them think about it as they ice the kicker with a timeout. 8:02 left in overtime. Jeff Jaeger, his field goal beat New England here last Sunday. He recalled ugly memories of a game earlier this year against Philadelphia when he missed a couple of short ones and the Eagles prevailed 10-7. He has a short chance now of about 26-27 yards to win it for the Raiders and give them a 7-6 mark and put them back into the wild card fight. Dan Reeves' team needs 2 wins in their final 4 to assure complete home field advantage in the playoffs, and he has battled throughout this game from the sidelines, the leader of Denver. And now he's looking for a big defensive play that might force a block.
Well, Dick, they were right there and threw that pass interception, and honestly could have run the ball and kicked a field goal. So I'm sure they'll get on that plane and reflect on that a little bit. Denver doesn't have any real big guys up front, so the chances of jumping and blocking this is, as the Raiders did earlier with Davis, who's 6'7", Scott Davis, aren't likely. So they're going to have to get there from the outside to block this.
The Broncos, prior to today, leading going into the fourth quarter, were 45-1. The one being a great comeback by the Mike Shanahan coach Raiders last year at Denver. And this would be the second time that they've lost the lead in the fourth quarter. If Jaeger can kick it from the right hash mark, a 26-yard attempt. Is still unbeaten at home, 5-0 for the new coach of the Raiders. Jaeger punches it through, and it's Los Angeles from behind, 16-13 in overtime.